Here I am with my next interview at the Louisiana State Capitol with State Representative Dodi Horton. Representative Horton, thank you so much for being on there. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, I tell you what, the honor's all mine because I know how hard you're working, and I got all your bills pulled up, so I want everybody to understand what your intentions are with the bill. Because all too often we hear all these narratives and stuff like that, and nobody really knows the real truth about what the legislation's about.
Okay.
You know,
which one are you talking
well,
about?
I'm going to start from the top right here. We got HB 8, which requires a display of the national motto, "In God We Trust," and I'm going to say it again, "In God We Trust," in every public elementary, secondary, and post-secondary education classroom. What is that about? What's that one about?
Well, I'm amending current law that mandates that you have to have a poster of our national motto in every school. But my grandchildren told me they never saw it. So I thought, why don't we need to put it in every classroom to get God back in the classroom? What a better way to do it than to have our national motto, which the motto says who you are. So as a country, we say we trust in God, we trust in a higher power, and so it's important to me to have that in every classroom to be a positive focal point for our children.
I think it's great. I think it's a great way, like you said, to say about the higher power, but it's also a way for respect.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it teaches another level of respect in our schools, and I love the fact that it doesn't say in Washington D.C. we trust,
oh, no.
in politicians we trust. It says in God we trust. It's a form of respect.
Absolutely. If anyone trusts in man, that's a sad thing. That's a sad day. But our country was founded on godly biblical values, and hence our motto, "In God We Trust." I mean, it's on our currency. It's on some Capitol buildings, like in Florida. They even adopted that as their state motto. But again, as a national motto, it tells the world a little bit about who America is.
It doesn't teach religion.
No,
it
not
simply
a particular
teaches
religion.
respect.
God is who we trust.
I love it. I love it. So HB 44 provides relatives of the Board of Trustees of the Firefighters Retirement System.
Yeah. I brought that on behalf of our retirees who are, members of the FRS, Firefighter Retirement System. And so through a lot of negotiations, we have decided that we would just allow our retirees to vote on their own retiree representative. Right now, the retirees nominate who they like, and the board chooses their own team. So if this passes and gets to the governor's desk, our retirees will finally, since 1983, be able to elect their own representative, someone they have confidence in and who truly will represent them on that board.
So in other words, this is going to take it away from being a political appointment to being an appointment by the people themselves, giving them more power back over their organization?
Well, it's not political. The board members choose from the nominations.
I got
so
you.
I'm not saying it's the governor appoints that person,
right.
but again, this way it'll be a fair election where the members, the retirees who know each other very well, have someone they have confidence in, and they'll be able to elect them for the first time. So it's a big deal to have someone you feel represents your values and your needs and your retirement system and the success of it in a manner and a way that affects your life on that board serving.
So does this put power more back in the hands of the people of that organization rather than a government organization?
I believe so. I think they work very well together, and this is no negative on the current board at all. But again, it's something the retirees have asked for, and I think it's a good thing. It's the American way, right?
I love this. Look, any way that we give power back closer to people instead of government agencies, I think is the right way to go.
Absolutely.
You got HB 122, Children and Newborns, provides relative to the mandatory screening of all newborns for early detection of
cytomegalovirus.
Okay. You got
CMV.
Cytomegalovirus. Okay, I can say that.
Right.
It sounds almost prehistoric.
It does. I learned of this when Amanda Bailey and her family introduced me to their daughter Journey, and she was born with this virus, but it was unknown to them that's what she had. And this virus is the most non-genetic cause of birth defects in children in the world, in the nation for sure. 1 out of every 300 children are born with this, but the diagnosis is missed. And a telltale sign that the child has is if they fail their hearing test at birth. Well, Journey did fail her hearing test at birth, and audiologist questioned the machinery and just passed her on. She failed it again at 3 months, and she was never asked to be tested for that. By the time she was 8 months and was had a test that yes, she was positive for CMV. She was blind, has cerebral palsy, can't talk, and it has a feeding tube. But if we'd have caught it at birth, she would be running, talking, playing like any other child.
Amazing.
And when they told me that, it broke my heart. So they're our honoring Journey in the life of Journey by trying to prevent that from happening to anyone else.
I love that this doesn't create a law. This just creates a requirement,
Right.
so that way we find ways to protect our children that are falling through the cracks.
Absolutely, and I'm just honored to carry that on behalf of Journey. It'll be known as Journey's Law. So.
Well, I have a lot of respect for you doing that. I
Well,
appreciate
thank
that.
you.
We've got HB 216 authorizes certain military members stationed in Louisiana to serve as commissioners.
Yeah, I didn't realize that we didn't have an exception for them. We have an exception for college students, and so we Barksdale Air Force Base is in my district, and it's the largest employer for us, and contributes so much to our state. And to enable to honor their wishes, the Secretary of State gladly had asked me to carry the bill to create that exception. And there's certain criteria they have to meet, but they want to be involved in our community, and this is a great way for them to do it.
And if they're stationed, so it's basically before, or the way it is now, is that somebody who's stationed here cannot be a poll commissioner?
Correct.
And
That's
so this
correct.
it helps them be active. I mean, look, if they're serving our country
I
and their
agree.
name's on the dotted line, for our country, there's no reason why they can't be working as poll commissioners in where they're stationed.
Yes, I mean they have to be registered vote and they're where they're born in or where they came from. You have to be an American citizen. So everything that a college student has to be, they do too. But who more would I trust than our military and their spouses to help us continue to uphold the integrity of our elections?
Huge tip to the military. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
absolutely.
I appreciate that. HB 216, that was poll commissioners. I'm going to do this one last. 643 provides relative to the cytomegalovirus thing again.
Right. We had a substitute bill in there.
I got you. Okay,
Right.
just in case. I get you. HR 14 recognizes the month of June as Sanctity of Preborn Life Month.
Absolutely. I was asked to carry that for the Southern Baptist Convention. Wanted to honor the sanctity of life, and they chose June, and so I was honored to do that. Of course, we honor life every day. Every day.
Exactly.
We have one of the most wonderful, strongest pro-life laws in the nation, and I was honored to be a part of that. Since the reversal of Roe versus Wade, and so because of that, and in honor of the unborn, we wanted to recognize them on a certain day, certain month.
So it'll be in the Constitution, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So we got HR 93, which designates the month of May as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. You ride motorcycles?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And
All right.
We have a large motorcycle community. ABATE is an organization that is dedicated to strengthen our laws for safety of the motorcycle and all motorists. And so I was honored to do that, truly.
And your last piece of legislation here, HB 466, provides relative to discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in public schools.
Don't say it.
Wait. You mean don't say it? Wait. So I cannot say gay?
You absolutely can say
So
gay.
this law is not going to make a state law where you can't say the word gay.
Of course not.
Because that's what I hear in the news. I hear this is going to ban me from being able to say gay.
You know the liberal media? Do they?
Okay.
I mean, do you really trust them? Their narrative is always going to be totally off center of what the bill actually is about when a conservative carries one.
Okay.
When you go against the world's narrative in a movement that is sweeping our country at a record pace, that's bent on robbing our children of their minds and their hearts, and when you step in between their agenda and the safety of our children, they attack you at all fours. And so we've got to do that. The legislature has to be that last line of defense.
Right.
And when our children our parents drop their children off at school, they have to have the confidence that our public schools are going to only teach the approved state standard/curriculum.
Right.
And the educators I know, my son-in-law's an educator, he would never, ever cross the line. He's there for the children. He guards his private life very much so. He's not there to share his life. He's there to enhance theirs.
So basically, all this says is that a teacher cannot teach anything about sexual orientation to a student.
Yes, they cannot initiate that conversation apart from the state standard curriculum. I mean, in Louisiana, you don't even teach sex ed until the 7th grade, and the parents have to opt in to be able for their children to be there. It nowhere in the standards does it even mention those two things.
Now, if they want to teach sex education in school, it can't be till 7th grade.
Correct.
And a parent has to sign authorization on that.
Right. It has to be with parental choice. Now, but how does a parent guard their children from an impromptu conversation that a teacher initiates it? You can't. So what we have to do is say that an educator, school employee, that when you're in the classroom, you teach the topic that you're hired to teach. And we know children are curious, and children can bring up all sorts of topics.
So if the child,
if the teacher gets them back on the subject that they're teaching.
So with this law, if a teacher cannot bring up sexual orientation,
Right.
okay, but if a child brings it up, the teacher can then say,
you need to go talk to your parents about that.
Right.
Yeah, and let's get back on math. It'd just be like you're teaching a science class, and a child says, well, do you think Jesus is the Christ? Well, if the teacher stops and turns the science class into theology class and shares her personal opinion on that, instead of saying, I believe that's something you need to talk to your parents about, let's go back to science. Well, I think people would have an issue with that, don't
right.
you?
Oh, so I love looking at the alternative.
Well,
like you said, if we had a law that says you cannot talk to a child about Jesus, unless they initiate it, it's kind of the same thing.
And still, you have to just get the children back on the topic at hand.
Yeah.
I mean, a teacher cannot lead a prayer in classroom, but a teacher can be there and observe the children praying together. It's the same thing. An educator cannot initiate that conversation. They cannot. They don't need to go in there and say, hey, I'm going to come out to my class today. I may be Mary, tomorrow I may be Frank, and I'm going to tell you why. Would you like that?
No, I get
parents have to. Parents, we have to respect parental rights in education, and that's what this is. And anything other than any attacks on this, anyone who opposes this is saying, I'm going to hand my children over to you, and when the doctrine comes through, I'm going to give you permission to share it with my children, to indoctrinate my children with it, and so I say no.
I see exactly what you're saying, and be more simplistic about it.
Yes.
The way I'm understanding it in layman's terms is basically, that if you're saying that a teacher cannot initiate the conversation, but to the people who are opposing this bill, you can tell them, look, if the pendulum swings in the other direction, you would not want a teacher initiating a conversation about Jesus or religion or
apart from their own personal
beliefs, right?
And so it's not up to me. I don't care what someone's lifestyle choice is. That's nothing to do with me.
This is not anti-gender or anything like that. Or this is not anti-gay people.
No, of course not.
This is just putting more power into the hands of parents.
For them to teach their children up the way that they feel they should go.
Right.
According to their own philosophy, religious beliefs, and their core values. It's not, the schools are supposed to be a place of learning and education, not a social engineering. And that's what we see happening. And it's just I just want to make it very, very clear. I am not, there's only one righteous judge, and it's not Dodi Horton.
Exactly.
Okay? And so I have no judgment on anyone. I just want them not to bring it into the class. I mean, there's been people who live a transgender lifestyle and other alternate lifestyles who support this bill.
Exactly.
Because they feel exactly the same way. It's their right to raise their children up in the way that they should go, no one else's. And so that should not be infringed upon.
Because it's like politics, religion, sexual orientation crosses that line between what a teacher's supposed to be doing, teaching a subject, and what a parent's right has to be able to be in there. So I see the protection.
It is, and let me say, nothing in this bill stops a student from seeking out advice or help from a teacher, to a counselor. So it's
they can still say gay. The student can still say it.
Well, why not? I mean,
exactly.
There's nothing in the bill that says you can't.
Exactly.
You just can't make a classroom discussion about it.
And the reason I emphasize it is because, again, it does. I see exactly what you're saying, and I want the people to see that this is just a way to say that a teacher should not be teaching this. No different than a teacher should not be teaching religion, when not asked, and should not be teaching politics when not asked,
Correct.
or should not be teaching any other narrative or ideology other than the topic that they're
Right.
teaching at school.
Absolutely. They have such a small window of classroom time, and our poor educators have been asked to do everything under the sun, and even having to work so hard to teach for a test score. So teachers don't want to be burdened with this, and
Right.
our school boards, they would like to have a law to build a policy around so they don't have to fear lawsuits. So it just it trickles down as far as the protection, but the number one protection is for the hearts and mind of our children.
I love it. Well, I got a couple more questions before you go into session. We've been debating this, that we haven't been debating, but people have been debating this bill. But, I've been watching things on the House floor, and I've watched them debate things like a chicken sandwich. Actually, they didn't debate the chicken sandwich, they had the chicken caucus or the chicken whatever.
They joke about
They
that,
joke
for sure,
about it,
yeah.
but I've watched them. I think they could debate a chicken sandwich. So would you support legislation that would designate a state sandwich?
I would pass legislation that doesn't waste our time
I
on
love it.
such subjects.
I love it.
Truly,
So
truly.
what would be the state sandwich?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I honestly don't.
You're sticking
I
to your
honestly
guns.
don't. It's
We
we want less government intrusion in our lives and less taxes. Okay?
I love it.
So whatever somebody likes to eat, however they eat it, however they want to eat it, and what kind they eat. I don't care.
But would you support legislation that would make the legislators update their pictures on the legislative site?
I certainly don't. Why can't I look 20 years old? Why do I have to look? Why does reality have to be pushed on the people?
You're making my point because some of those pictures.
I know. I never like any of mine, so it really doesn't matter. The questions you ask.
I love it. Representative Horton, you are amazing, and I thank you so much thank you for clarifying that one bill, but thank you for going over all your bills.
Well, thank you for
and
having me.
I appreciate that you listen to the people in your district and in Louisiana, and you're working hard to help everybody out.
Thank you so much.
Thank
God
you very
bless
much. God bless
I
you too.
it.
Appreciate
And
you.
thank you all.
And thanks for in God we trust in the school, because I think that's
Thank you.
important too.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all very much, everybody, and have a great day.